Buckle up, hotties. It's time to talk some hoops. Welcome to Crunch Wears No Pants with Brandon, Nate, and Jordan.
What's poppin', panty people? Welcome to Crunch Wears No Pants. I am Jordan Jolly Alamat. That's Brandon Beck, and that's Nate Durf, All's Durf, and we are the bosses of the hoops department of PullTabSports.com, powered exclusively by Jimmy's Dips and JoMomma's Salsa. All we do is eat
dips and salsa.
Yeah, we can't.
Chips and salsa.
Yeah, we
dips and salsa. It's
Well,
chips and salsa.
no, it's dips and salsa.
It's dips and
I
salsa.
thought it was chips.
Do you not
and
listen to
salsa.
the pod? Oh my God, you don't listen. Hey, we're going to do this at the front end of the pod now. If you're listening and you are a regular listener, make sure you subscribe and give us the old 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. Or if we suck, give us 1 and scathe us. No 2s, no 3s, no 4s. 5 or 1s is all we're interested in. And guys, it finally happened. No icebreaker question today. After weeks of trying to get a guest into Green Screen Studios in St. Paul, Minnesota, it's finally happening. Let's welcome our first guest, Chalenka Langerson of Zone Coverage and the CNDNBA Show.
I'm here. I've arrived. Hello, everyone.
Chalenka, did you know that
Yes.
you were Mr. Irrelevant in our Wolves Twitter draft?
I was Mr. Irrelevant.
You were the last pick.
Oh,
Well,
damn.
Yeah, but if you think about how many people are on Twitter, and we only took 18 people.
Yeah, total.
So you're
Okay.
You were the 18th most poppin' Twitter. You were on my team.
Okay, I love it. Yes.
It was a good. It was a stack
I
team.
do remember that.
We got robbed by Brandon's political bullshit.
What? No, Durf's
Did
team
Durf
won.
win? Oh shit.
Oh yeah, I did
We
win.
don't even remember.
I did. Yeah.
What did you
Durf had Dane Moore and John.
Yeah.
and you got
You let Dane fall to me
Because you took Brit before both of them.
I love a sassy old man. What can I say?
I respect it.
Chalenka, what are your thoughts on Britt Robson?
Britt has been adamant lately that he's not a fan on Twitter, which I think has been a pretty funny turn.
Yeah.
It's been a weird bit.
Yeah, because it's like, you are, man.
Yeah,
No one spends
absolutely.
their entire life covering the Timberwolves if they're not a fan. You know? Come on, man.
I respect it.
Yeah.
So, Chalenka, to get to know you, we're going to put you on our first ever sponsored bit. So I hope this doesn't interfere with your sponsorship with Jake's Crafts. I hope there's no.
No, he's pretty open. He's pretty cool. We can do whatever we want. So.
Ha ha hee hee.
Ha, hee,
Yeah.
hee. So this is the first ever JoMomma Salsa Smoking Hot Mama Hot Seat. So the Smoking Hot Mama is cold and you got to warm her up, dude. Okay. Should we go take turns asking the questions or should I just go through them?
I say we can take turns.
Okay, so we're going to go top to bottom. Don't think, just vibes, unless
right,
the
let's
question requires thought. Timberwolves origin story. That's kind of a long one.
You mean how I became a Timberwolves fan?
Yeah.
Start to finish.
Quick vibes.
Up until now.
I started playing intramural basketball in college. Started following the NBA, fantasy basketball. Had to follow the Timberwolves, the white era. You know,
The Wera.
the where as we like to say it.
Like the white power article era.
the Eastern European
Andre
team.
Kirilenko, Chase Budinger.
Yes. That team got me into it. It was not very good basketball.
You know, they played the game the right way.
That's right. That's right. Very
Fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Scrappy. That team.
All right, next question. Brandon, you go next.
I want to ask the third question.
Yeah,
You
hold
ask the
on.
second question.
What is your all-time favorite jersey, like design style?
I really loved the North Star jersey. I thought those were
Ants
fucking-
rookie
I
year.
respect that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
All right, this is my favorite question on the list. Who do you hate?
Man, am I gonna spill that on pod right now? It's just in the world.
Just the number one, or like a member of your top 10.
Who do you
Like-
hate most
like
in the
NBA,
world
NBA.
and NBA? Like two different answers.
Okay, most in the world. I really, I mean, Andrew Tate. That's like super.
There you go.
relevant.
Good
Valid.
choice.
Very valid answer.
And in the NBA, I'm not. Okay, I am a hater. I am a hater.
Yes.
But I try not to hate players. I would say if I have to pick one player that I really, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Also valid.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on, guys.
Yes.
Neither Ant nor De'Aaron Fox made the All-Star team.
Breaking
Oh.
news on the pod. It's 6:20 p.m.
They put freaking Paul George in.
And Jaren Jackson Jr. That's the part that I'm. Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, but he's a forward, so he doesn't get, or unless he got the wild card spot.
In the wild card spot.
Did they take that from us? The wild card bit? So I don't want to get into All-Star stuff right now, but I hate the Paul George thing because it's not. The All-Star game is turned into a popularity contest and a legacy game, but it should be a representation of the league at that year. So I'm more forgiving of the Jaren Jackson Jr. bit, But the Paul George stuff, I just can't forgive.
Imagine if Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't get all those extra blocks and steals at home.
Oh my God.
You like falsified facts over here? Big fan.
We're done. We're done with
yeah.
we're done with that. Okay, back to Chilanga on the JoMomma Salsa Smoking Hot Mama Hot Seat. Shit.
That name just rolls off the tongue.
It's a really good.
I love a fast name for a segment that's supposed to be super fast.
Yeah, it's working. Who is your league pass crush? What non-Wolves team makes your heart throb?
I hate to say it, but it's kind of the Utah Jazz this year. I think they're super fun. They play super up-pace offense. It's a bunch of guys that are not stars, not big names, but they play hard every night. They shoot a bunch of threes. They, a bunch of them can dribble, pass, and shoot. It's a fun team, man.
Yeah, they're fun. All right, Durf.
Where are we at?
You're at the who is. Sorry, I added that league pass one.
No, I think he's right after who you hate.
I downloaded it. Yeah.
Oops.
So what is, in your opinion, the best dinner at Target Center?
Oh yeah.
If you're going to grab something, what is it?
Oh, God. I'm a vegan.
Okay. All right.
So many options.
What beverage do you
And no, I mean it's been a while since I've been to the game as a fan. But when I did go to the game as a fan, there were like a few vegan options. I think they had like a vegan hot dog that you could get that was pretty
I'm
good.
sure that was just immaculate.
No, vegan hot dog tech actually is pretty prime right now. It's hard to grab a bad vegan dog, in my opinion. But I mostly just drink beer when I go to games as a fan. I drink a lot of beer.
Nice.
Aren't Mike and Ike's also vegan?
Probably. Yeah.
Caveat, what's your go-to beer at the game?
At the game, I like to get.
That's a good question.
I kind of like lean into it at the game, and I just drink straight Bud Lights.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
I respect that.
Yeah, it's more efficient financially too. Not that it's efficient at all financially because they're very expensive, but
Right.
All right. Who is the hottest player in Timberwolves history? Player or coach?
Oh,
I'm Thibodeau.
Ideal man body.
I mean, again, people are gonna hate me, but I gotta go Jimmy Butler. He's beautiful.
Yeah, he's a baddie.
He's a beautiful, beautiful man.
Also,
And
good date material. Like he's gonna take you fishing.
I'm saying,
That's
he's kind of outdoorsy, but he's kind of classy too with his his love for coffee and stuff. Like I feel like he could plan a really nice date.
Dreadlocks or no dreadlocks?
I thought
Jimmy.
I kind of like the dreadlocks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what it finally. Finally.
Did
I'm
you
kinda
see
into
they took they're like making him change his roster picture, and so he said he's gonna put the extensions back in after the
yeah.
All-Star break, so it doesn't match his roster picture.
I did see that.
That's brilliant. Okay. This bit's taking way too long. This is how the pod goes. What is the thesis statement of the C&D NBA show?
The socialist Christian, the premier socialist Christian podcast, Timberwolves podcast.
Okay, that's
That's it.
good. If you don't know if you heard Jally last week, but we're the premier alt-right podcast.
No, I actually did, and I was actually really happy because the whole like socialist Christian thing. It's sort of just it's kind of a bit like we kind of lean into it. It's not really us, and so I'm happy to finally connect with people who are more like me and alt-right,
Right.
and
As the ELCA, Luther College, Bethel College.
Yeah.
The handshake.
It's just nice to be
Right.
authentically ourselves.
Yes.
In this space. Yeah.
I am really excited to dig into some politics later.
Yeah.
I know that is a segment.
Yeah, that's the second hour.
Great.
So.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. I got some takes. All right.
Last question. Who's got it? Who jump off for the last question? Should we all say it at the same time?
All right.
Describe yourself as a basketball player.
Oh man, I'm always asking people to give me a comp for me because I never watch myself play. But I always like to say I'm like Pascal Siakam before he played basketball.
Okay.
I like to dribble, but I'm not super good at it. I like to shoot, but I'm not super good at it. I'm kind of long.
Do you go to the spin move a lot like Pascal?
I spin a lot. Yeah, I do love to spin.
just yamming that circle.
Yes.
Towards the.
Yeah, man. And I'm also Cameroonian, so
Okay.
Magnificent. Well, we know you now.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can let you go. And
It was nice. Hey,
That was it.
that was a great.
that was really fun, y'all.
That was the whole pod.
This is a great product, y'all got. This is really good. I see why people like this. Okay.
I appreciate it. We're storming on the scene. Okay, things to discuss. We got the vibes. We're gonna talk about the vibes. Very electrifying. We'll also discuss potential trade targets for the Timberwolves and whether we are in or out on the rumor mill. And then to celebrate the cultural phenomenon of The Last of Us, now streaming on HBO Max, Use promo code No Pants to get a month free on HBO Max. We will create a survival squad of past and present Wolves and Wolves coaches and Wolves front office members. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
So we're going to create a squad of...
My team is 4 players because I couldn't keep
I thought it was 3.
I couldn't
was
keep it
3.
at 3.
Why do you always
I
do
added a
this?
4th.
Whatever. We'll
The
do
4th one's just kind of a joke.
My joke is actually a vital part of my team. And we'll get to there. So we'll create a 3-member survivalist squad. Or 4 to help us survive the mushroom zombie takeover present in the show. But first, this episode is brought to you by Stewartville, Minnesota's very own Jimmy's Dip, specifically their caramel dip. We don't talk about the veggie dip because that's not in the talking points, but we talk about the veggie dip sometimes. The caramel dip is available at Hy-Vee or Cub. Jimmy's Caramel Dips is an easy way to up your apple intake. An apple a day keeps
the doctor away.
And it's a delicious way to do that. Hey, you know that big football game is coming up. We can't.
The big game.
The big game is coming up, and you're gonna have friends
the
over.
Pro Bowl.
No, I thought they canceled it.
They're games.
They
now.
canceled the Pro Bowl?
No, they're the Pro Bowl games now. They do the competition. Like, I don't know what.
Like how far can the quarterbacks throw the ball and stuff?
They all just race. They just run.
How much Jimmy's Dips can they eat in 30 seconds?
A bunch of offensive linemen in a Jimmy's Dips eating contest.
So you're going to host your little party. Why not treat your football friends to delicious caramel dip or their veggie dip? I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the veggie dip, but I'm going to. Okay, Jimmy says veggie dip too. So here at Crunch Wears No Pants, we mostly rock with the caramel dip, but you can do the veggie dip like Beck's niece, who was baptized in it, which was, again, theologically incredibly sound. That's how Jesus wanted it. If you go back and you do the exegesis and hermeneutics, that's you want to dip in the caramel
It's,
dip.
it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls, I think. Anyway, keep going.
Those are proven to be fake. You remember, did you see that?
I didn't. I don't look into things before I say them.
That's fine. That tracks. So Hy-Vee or Cub, don't be a lame-o. Go cop your Jimmy's Dips. That's the official slogan of the product.
Says it right on the bucket.
Yeah. All right. How are the vibes, gentlemen? Here's what's happened since we last recorded. The Wolves are 6-2. They've taken down the Grizzlies, Rockets, Kings, Pelicans, Raptors, and Warriors, and have lost to the Kings and a befuddling loss to the Houston Rockets. Off the court, Anthony Edwards was interviewed by GQ, where he revealed that he listens to Nicki Minaj before every game, probably Starships.
Oh, I was thinking super bass.
Which one goes harder? I feel like the guitar's a little more
I think it's probably Starships.
Chalenga?
I gotta go Starships.
Sorry,
Well,
man.
Sorry, guys.
So
I'll see myself out.
This guy knows one Nicki song. So yeah, he did that. He also
much more than that.
He also revealed that he eats 3 bags of Chester's Flaming Hot Fries per day, which is 21 per week. And Kat, the fast food fascist, is probably very angry about that. Hours after that, Ant, along with D'Angelo Russell and the rest of the Timberwolves, were subject of numerous national hit pieces and sassy sound bites, mostly deriving from the Ringers Mayonnaise Monster Trio of KOC, Ryan Rosillo, and Bill Simmons, and it sent Wolves Twitter into a fury. And then lastly, Kat posted a picture of himself celebrating Eagles' victory while wearing a fresh new walking boot on his strained calf, casting doubt on his ability to return this year. So some positives, some negatives. I posed the question, how are the vibes? Chalenga, again, rapid fire, how are the vibes in your mind?
The vibes could not be better. I was at the game Wednesday night. I don't know when you're listening to this, but I was on the game Wednesday night when they beat the Golden State Warriors at overtime. And I'll tell you what, if that was your only Wolves game of the season, you probably think the Wolves are just incredible because of the way that they beat the Golden State Warriors. It was tight, but it was emphatic.
Brandon, vibes.
I think the vibes are not as good as they should be. And we'll get into like some of the national media discourse and stuff later, but the team is playing really well and things like should be really good, but there's still kind of this negative cloud over Twitter where it's like everyone's mad that Ant, before we started recording, everyone was mad that Ant wasn't going to make the All-Star team. Now they're mad that Ant didn't make the All-Star team. And like you said, like there's the weird hit pieces, there's the weird Rosillo podcast and the weird Kevin O'Connor tweets and stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
They're just kind of like, everyone seems to be just ignoring the fact that the Timberwolves are playing really well. We're up to the 6th seed now, and we haven't had arguably our best player for 2 months. Like that Cat thing is just getting kind of ignored versus like the Pelicans have lost 9 in a row and everyone's like, it's so sad. They don't have Zion Williamson. What a sad story for this team. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves have just overcome that and everyone's like, what? It's hilarious. They trade all those picks for Rudy Gobert.
It's quite frustrating. Durf, how are the vibes?
I'm going to say the vibes are good.
2 weeks in a row.
Close. No, yeah, they're
Super strong. Good.
A strong good though.
Yeah, like a really good. I'm gonna say great minus.
Okay.
That's where I'm putting him at. There's obviously room for improvement, always is, but it's been really fun to watch. They put out, like you said, a great product the last few weeks. Pretty much since that player meeting, I think we talked about. It seems like there's just been a gear shift. We've had 4 win streaks since January 1st, which matches our win streak total for the first part of the season. And that might seem like a weird fact to
like number of win streaks.
Yeah, and there's
What
a reason.
constitutes-
Define a win streak. Is it just
it's
2 in a
or is it
row?
3?
Durf, why do you bring up win streaks? That's a weird fact to talk about, specifically because I'm zeroing in on resiliency. And before this player meeting, before the shift and whatever, there was a tendency to lose a game and then go on a losing streak, and we haven't done that. We've lost a game and maybe 2, and we find a way to like start another win streak. So to me, that's really important. It shows resiliency, and it's just not how we were in the earlier part of the season.
I think the vibes are righteously angry. What do I mean by that?
Oh, hell yeah.
We got
There you go.
chip on our shoulders. You talk about resiliency. We got Rosillo talking shit, and it makes me angry. So I think that, you saw D'Lo was D'Lo angry at the game yesterday, Chlenga?
He didn't. No, he didn't.
He's never angry.
He had a moment where he was kind of off by himself, and somebody asked about it in the post game, and he was like, "Oh no, I was trying to stay locked in, whatever." I think he was hyper focused.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that is anger for D'Lo.
Yeah, maybe.
But, I think there's a lot of like chip on your shoulder energy. Maybe I'm projecting onto the team, but I see that translating to just winning basketball. Again, off mic or on mic? It was on mic. You said the Utah Jazz play hard, and
Yeah, it was on mic.
people. It's just been such a blur, man. It's been so much fun. Just that there's been less hero ball. There's always gonna be hero ball when you have Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, but there's been less of that. There's been more just passing and hustle. D'Lo's grabbing the rebounds and diving for some balls and off-ball movement that you required of him, Brandon. So it's been nice to.
He also
turnovers.
cooked us in an overtime game by pointing at a guy under the hoop.
I think that was a joint mistake. I could see why he pointed at Kyle to defend him. But so I think we're righteously angry and things are going in the right direction, obviously. Let's start with the rain cloud that you're talking about, Brandon. That's raining it down upon us, the national media. So since we've drafted Anthony Edwards, it seems like his profile rising and the team's profile rising have created kind of a storm from the national media. Yeah.
Just quick pause here.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connor. I don't understand why coaches selected Paul George over De'Aaron Fox or Anthony Edwards for the All-Star reserve
Okay.
spot.
Wow.
Fox
Narrative
and
change.
Edwards have posted better numbers, and they're the engines of their teams.
Okay, they're flip-flopping. We're still gonna give it to him. So like the national media has been very cruel and mean-spirited towards us. It feels like, and the Timberwolves have obviously earned it in some respects, but also it seems like it's coming from a malicious place. Like last week we had Nate Duncan back at it, disrespecting Anthony Edwards, calling him nowhere near an all-star. And then on Tuesday,
Yeah, but Nate Duncan is a doofus.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He's a card-carrying Wolves hater. He pulls up to the club. He goes, "Hey, let me in."
But why?
You know?
We haven't done anything to have haters, but whatever. And then the vanilla vortex, Bill Simmons.
I'd also like to point out a real fun Nate Duncan thing to do is to just go to his Twitter profile and see he's got like 150,000 followers and every tweet has like 2 likes.
He bought him. Are we
It's like, it's really
Egregious.
funny.
Are we putting that allegation out?
No,
Oh, yeah.
it's hilarious.
I love it. What a loser. Okay, the vanilla vortex of the Ringer, Bill Simmons, KOC, and Ryan Rosillo took unloaded a lazy clip of bad faith talking points for the Timberwolves, including, I have a 4-bullet list right here. D'Angelo Russell is the worst player to get significant minutes in the NBA. That's Ryan Rosillo.
Oh my God.
Crazy thing to say in a
Yes.
league with Russell Westbrook.
Flaming hot.
Bill Simmons compared D'Angelo Russell's Kings game, the most recent one, Monday, to the worst stat line in NBA history, when in reality it was just a normal bad game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
was so weird because it was a bad game, but he was like, D'Angelo Russell had this totally normal bad game that you could probably find in any box score, any game. That reminded me of the worst game ever.
Really makes you think, doesn't
And
it?
if you're saying that, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, like I'm no big D'Angelo Russell fan, but it was like it would be like if after a Celtics game he was like, Jason Tatum had 20 on 10 of 15 shooting tonight. Reminds me of when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100
It's
points
tough.
and
It's
pulled down
tough.
50 rebounds.
And 10,000 babes, dude. And then, keeping it going, Ryan Marzillo also tried to pass along a narrative that Anthony Edwards doesn't like D'Lo or Cat. Think he likes both of them just fine.
But also the hot fries thing. He's eating too many hot fries, so
fries.
he can't be a good basketball player because of that.
And then Ryan Marzillo also said that the Timberwolves are so hopeless that Ant would make the horrible financial decision to turn down the inevitable rookie max extension. And then lastly, KOC called into question.
Hold on.
He
The
said,
first person in history to do that.
He said that?
he said like it could
Actually-
happen. Like it's that dysfunctional. He might just turn
He's
down the
scrounging
rookie.
for takes.
They're 28 and 26.
There's so many takes to have,
Yeah.
and that's what he came up with. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me. It's not unlike what people were saying about Zion just like a couple of years ago, except Anthony Edwards is on the court playing basketball,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Like-
the Wolves are way better than the Pelicans
Oh
ever
my
were.
God.
which is quite the thing to say. And then lastly, cherry on top. This one's not as bad, but well, yeah, it is. Fuck it. KOC called into question whether or not Ant's ascension could KOC called into question whether or not Ant's ascension, could actually happen, as if we're not currently witnessing it. So that's 5 transgressions versus the Ringer in the last 48 hours.
So I will say, I listened to the mismatch. The sentiment on the mismatch after like the Kevin O'Connor tweets and the Kevin O'Connor articles was not negative towards the Wolves or Anthony Edwards. They were very complimentary. It was kind of like, we have this idea that the Kings are having this great season. They're in third place and the Timberwolves season is such a mess, when the reality is they're not actually that far apart, and they played 2 times and they split. So the sentiment from those guys on the mic was better. It wasn't nearly as bad as the Russillo stuff was, or the Simmons stuff.
Yeah, it was just egregious. Chilenko, what do you make of this? Are we just suffering from flyover state syndrome and lashing out, or are we on to some sort of national media bias?
No, the national media have been Wolves haters for a long time, and they will continue to be Wolves haters for a long time. A couple of years ago, I wrote about like Anthony Edwards' perception in the national media, and
Is that the one comparing him to Cade?
Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I just read that actually. It
Uh-huh.
got retweeted. I read that last week or something.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Patrick Fenelon, shout out, retweeted it for me. Got me a bunch of new followers on Twitter. I loved it.
From the 10,000 takes with
Yeah,
Maggie.
from 10,000
Nice.
takes.
We rock with them.
Yeah. I rock with them too. But that was specifically through the lens of like colorism and how, these light skinned players are viewed versus the darker skinned players, because I mean there's a real difference. I broke down Kevin O'Connor's like breakdowns of Anthony Edwards versus Cade Cunningham, and it was like night and day. He was like, Anthony Edwards is this bruising, like unpolished
Punishing,
player. It's
yeah.
like it was nasty, and Cade Cunningham was smooth and like NBA ready and like a high level it's just like a mid-sized market, and I'm not gonna sit here and say the Wolves are some like premier franchise, because they're not, and we know they're not. And Glenn Taylor has been the sort of at the helm through just a hellish series of mismanagement over the last 30 years. And the Gobert trade also, I mean, it sucks. Like we could just say flat out, it was bad business.
They can end up like the Gobert trade objectively was an overpay. That doesn't mean they can't end up being good.
Right.
Right.
All right. And so to just my point of pointing out all these things is that the Wolves have not made it difficult to be shit on. And when a team that is somewhat irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, in the national narrative, makes it easy, it just is. So like, I would say Washington Wizards fans probably feel the same way. I would say Sacramento Kings fans probably feel the same exact way. The Charlotte Hornets fans, talk about mismanagement. Michael Jordan is over there burning that franchise to the ground,
Yeah, but they're gonna bring back Miles Bridges here pretty soon, and that's gonna fix everything.
The whole thing.
Bro, I had a Hornets fan talk shit like the Wolves are
Yeah,
they're not gonna sniff the play in this year. I'm like, bro, you're all 15 and 37 Miles Bridges Hornets fan. All you got's the 90s uniforms, which are great.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, their courts too are like immaculate.
The honeycomb,
So
magnificent.
It's a good color scheme.
Yeah, it is. It is. Anyway, I just think it's easy and it stinks. I also think Karl Anthony Towns is the most hated on star in the league, bar none.
Absolutely.
And that makes it hard for him to be on your team because people are going to hate on Karl Anthony Towns because he's kind of a weirdo and like people can't deal with that. You know?
And then it's like kind of like the antics on the court thing and
Uh-huh.
being part of a dysfunctional franchise, you get labeled really early as like a good stats, bad team guy.
Yes.
And then everyone insists they need to get you out of there. But then if you stay there too long, you get kind of like marred by that.
Let's talk about the antics though. And I go crazy about this, and it makes me very angry. Cat whines. Yes. He complains.
Absolutely.
He also gets a bad whistle.
Mhm.
How come when Joel complains, there's no question about it? When there's a little bit of Luka complaining. Jokic throws little temper tantrums. Big boss baby 2-time, 3-time. He looks
His
like
nose,
boss.
his
adult
nose is
boss
gushing
baby.
blood.
Yeah.
And he's
So I agree. Like those guys also though do get a lot of technical
They
fouls.
don't, yeah, but they don't get the national media sentiment.
The cat antics are like a little over the top sometimes.
Is that because he's just a hot guy? Because he's also very attractive. So when he whines, it's kind of like, ooh, poor guy. Whereas Jokic is just ugly as shit. So
And
it's
they're
like,
look
oh,
at that funny looking guy.
Draymond was yelling at the refs. And like, if
Draymond leads the league in technicals.
yeah, but he doesn't, no one talks about Draymond like a whiner when he is.
That's not true.
I don't see it. Okay.
Wait, and are we sure? I think does Anthony Edwards not lead the league in technicals this year?
I
I think
no,
it's
he's gotta be
Draymond
close.
now. But
Okay, it
Ant-
is Draymond.
Last I checked, it was like because what's the number like 16 for a suspension?
Yeah.
Ant was at like 11 and
Okay.
Draymond was at like 13. I think.
Okay,
Wait, hang on.
that tracks.
Nationally, Draymond is labeled the whiner? Is that a
Yes.
tactic? Okay. So two of my closest radio friends, Derek and Miles, are big Warriors fans. So that I have good feelings for the Warriors. So I'm not privy to this stuff. So it's good to know. I rescind that. Draymond, you're a whiner.
yeah,
Sure.
Draymond's at 14. So it's Draymond, Dylan Brooks, surprise.
Oh yeah.
And
Dylan
Ant-
Brooks.
Ant's at 3. Real bitch.
I think all three of those guys need to team up at some point. I think that would be
It's just a villain team.
Oh God, I would love it. Can I say one more thing about Karl Anthony Towns?
Absolutely. Yes.
So like, there's the on-court shit, but I think the one of the things about Karl Anthony Towns too is that he pairs it with some off-court stuff that I think my read is a product of just his sort of off personality. There's like,
Oh, you don't like coat drives?
I fucking hate coat. Fuck a coat drive. Those kids could either earn a coat or be cold.
They have to earn it.
Finally, somebody's talking the truth over here.
I'm just saying, I don't know why I need to spend my goddamn hard-earned money on a coat for somebody else's goddamn kids. I got kids of my own. They gotta eat. They gotta have coats, and they're expensive. If you've been to REI lately, those coats are $300-$400. You think you think money grows on trees?
Cat, how could you?
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I got a beef with Karl Anthony Towns' coat drives.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
Soundbite it. Soundbite it.
No, I think he's a good dude. That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think he's got some like when he's on the mics and the pressers, and he'll have these long diatribes where he won't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, his appearing on streams with Aiden Ross, just the way that he sort of tries to be things that maybe he's not in his heart, but he thinks like will project in a good way. I mean, that's just how I read it. I don't know him personally, but as a fan, that's how I have read it. And people take those and without like the whole context of watching Karl Anthony Towns, play and exist for 8 years. And they're like, that guy sucks. He's a fake. He is, he's a whiner. He's weak. And I think it's just twisted who he is. But
Yeah.
He's
Well,
very weird. He's very weird and very performative.
Yeah.
At times, to the point where we did some preseason over-unders on our first episode of this show, and one of the over-unders was cringy cat quotes.
What was it?
The line was 5.5. He's only got one because he's been really out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Chilling, what you said was parallel to what you said. What we've been saying is that Cat is just like a weird, nice guy, and he's the most leader-like you don't need to be like a Pat Bev. You can, and we keep saying this so we can just move past it. But it's like, just be a cool, nice guy. You can lead as like a nice, weird guy. You can just be on Twitch saying, hey, don't vote for me for All-Star, vote for D'Lo or Ant. And that's awesome.
Yes.
That's be authentic.
Yes. And that's all I want. Because he's got a chance for fucking weirdos and sort of like nerds and like geeks to have someone who's really cool to look up to. Right? I'm saying, and but I just feel like there's some internal dissonance that's happening there.
He very clearly like wants to be in the limelight. He wants to have those sound bites, and he tries, like you said, he tries to be performative and be profound, and it comes out being like, what does that mean? Like, what did you just say? It's goofy, but I think, and it's also hard because he's been around the leaders that he's been around, like as like in his youth with the team. It's like you're growing up, but you're growing up with like Tibbs and Butler and like this kind of like knows that like don't show emotion, don't just be angry, whatever.
That's a good point.
I don't know. That has to have factored in somehow, but
absolutely.
That's a great laddering back up to the national media thing. It feels like that was year 3, right? Where that kind of feels like where things started to shift against Cat. Like, oh, Jimmy really ran him out the gym. And last point on like the national media thing. This kind of brings back up something that I'm kind of perturbed with modern media. You'll be surprised to learn that I'm going to blame this on like Ronald Reagan and like the demise of the fairness doctrine, essentially. But media outlets, whether it be like Fox News or The Ringer or my old radio station Go 96.3, right? We were not in the business of playing alternative music. We were in the business of aggregating an audience that would be susceptible to Audi ads and craft beers, right? We were not in the business of playing the coolest alternative music. We are in the business of playing the most streamed alternative music, like Imagine Dragons, to get that stuff in. That's the same with sports journalism. It's the same with just any type of journalism. So the Ringer is not incentivized by rational, good journalism on the Timberwolves. That's what Johnny K is for. That's what the C&D NBA show is for.
Well, I don't know about good, but
but rational.
Yeah.
Or just like
very rational.
Just locked in local journalism, right? So
finger on the pulse.
Finger on the pulse, and that's why like in this type of system, takes are going to optimize towards the dollar, which means you're optimizing towards the click, which prioritizes large markets. So why would you cover the Timberwolves or the Kings or the Hornets when you could talk about the Warriors and the Lakers? Because you get more clicks, and that optimizes. You're doing it for clicks, you're doing it for display ads, you're doing it for live reads. So
that's a good point.
It's just the problem. It's just that Brandon, you said this. The problem with that is that I'm going to read your tweet verbatim. The problem is that these guys, the national media, control the narrative of NBA fans. They dictate the awards voting and general sentiment around players and directly impacts earning potential, and in turn reinforces the idea that these guys need to bail for bigger markets. You are a genius for that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So like Anthony Edwards missing the All-Star game this year. He has a clause like in his deal with Adidas where if he had made the All-Star team this season, he would be getting a signature shoe and he would be one of the faces of Adidas. And it sucks. But if Anthony Edwards was doing the identical things he's doing right now on a worse Los Angeles Lakers team, he would have been voted an All-Star starter. And if he wouldn't have been voted an All-Star starter, he would have been selected an All-Star by the coaches and he would be in the game. But the fact that he's playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves, that's not the case. And then that's being like kind of like driven forward by guys like Ryan Russillo and Bill Simmons who don't watch Timberwolves games, coming out and saying these overarching things that are shaping people's opinions about him without any actual information to back it up. Like, it's very obvious when you listen to those guys that they're just like not watching the games. I heard Bill Simmons a couple years ago describe Naz Reid as like, he's a pretty good defender. He does a lot of stuff, but he's a little bit of a work in progress on offense. It's like, that's like the complete opposite of what Naz Reid is as a player.
I don't know.
And who he came into the league, like he came into the league only with offense.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
that's wild, man.
So it's just like very obvious when you hear these guys talk about these things that they're not actually watching the games. They have these preconceived ideas. And that's the Anthony Edwards problem. Is the pre-draft articles about Anthony Edwards were all like, oh, he doesn't love basketball and he's inefficient and he's a work in progress and all this stuff.
That gets me.
And he's comes in and he hasn't been any of that stuff, but these people have like these thoughts entrenched in their mind that they're like trying to back up. The myth of the Anthony Edwards inefficiency is the craziest thing to me, because outside of like the first 20 games of his career, he's an extremely efficient shooting guard, like effective field goal percentages right in line with Paul George, who just made the All-Star team over him, right in line with Devin Booker, right in line with Donovan Mitchell. It's all the same. But Anthony Edwards, because before the draft, everyone thought he was going to be an inefficient volume shooter, that's just kind of stuck with him. And the national media is too lazy to watch any Timberwolves games to actually change the conversation around that.
So what's the solution? Just outsourcing those takes, like, have Johnny K on the mismatch, have Brandon Beck on the mismatch.
I mean, I think it's just it's a thing that doesn't really get fixed because they're going to keep going to those sources for their information.
So we're whining like that.
For me, my solution is I listen to some of those podcasts for like the entertainment value, but I don't take a lot of stock in their opinions on the Charlotte Hornets because if they're not watching the Timberwolves, they're probably not watching the Hornets either. So the stuff that they're saying that I'm hearing about the Timberwolves, it's probably just as ignorant like what they're saying about the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets and the Detroit Pistons. So I think it's just like something you kind of have to take upon yourself. I don't know how we fix it at the national level.
We gotta be free thinkers. We gotta do our own research.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta watch the games, do your own research.
Just read Breitbart. You're perfectly. You'll get all your takes.
If y'all got some time after this, I got a few Instagram reels that I would love to share with you.
So I had
too afraid to get into it. Okay, that's fine. It'll be off pod. It'll be off pod.
Off pod.
Just keep going.
No, fine. We've held phones up for audio to the mic before. We'll do it again, Chalenga. All right, so kind of going into like they don't watch the Charlotte Hornets, neither do we. So let's talk about players from teams that we don't really watch that much and talk about trade talk, baby. So the trade deadline's a week away. We're gonna do an in or out roundtable. We're going to go through some of the names that have been
loosely tied to the Wolves
and everyone else.
I also have one I want to add at the end that has not been tied to the Wolves at all, but it's just a guy I really want.
Wilt.
It's not Wilt. But we should have put Prime Oscar Robertson on here. You rumored him a couple weeks ago.
I heard that in the media.
And Corey Koski and all three iterations of Tracy McGrady. Well, not the Raptors Tracy McGrady.
Oh, I would like that one though.
He's not on the board. Only Magic.
Raptors are like trading everybody. They're not trading Tracy McGrady.
They're keeping his rights. So we're gonna go through. We're not gonna talk about Conley because we talked about Conley last week. But let's just go real quick. If we were to trade D'Angelo Russell or Naz Reid, and at the end we'll say, well, how do we do this?
I think we should touch on like who you probably have to trade to get these guys because like we can't say. We can't say I'm in on Conley, but I don't want to trade D'Angelo Russell for him because that's impossible.
I think that's just assumed that's going to be that's assumed it's going to be D'Lo, Nas, and probably like TP to make the money work. So Conley, we're all in.
Conley makes less than D'Lo, so we wouldn't need.
Oh, really? Well, whatever.
Yeah. But
if we had to trade D'Lo,
we did the whole Conley thing last week. I am in on Mike Conley.
Chalenga?
I'm in on Mike Conley.
Very much in.
If we had to do it and trade D'Lo, I would be fine with Conley.
Okay. Next up, who did we have talking about Kyle Lowry? You wanted to talk about Kyle Lowry?
No, I got Fran
Wasn't highlighted.
It wasn't highlighted?
No.
So nobody did any research for Kyle Lowry. Okay. I can offer my takes on Kyle Lowry, and then we can go around.
I wasn't even stoned during this prep meeting, and I still fucked it up.
Allegedly.
So Kyle Lowry... I'm probably going to tip my hand as to whether I'm in or out here. He has clearly worn out his welcome with Miami. They're very motivated to get off of him for luxury tax reasons. And he is a small point guard who has been showing signs of decline for the last couple of years. He's on the books for $30 million next season. So a lot of negative things about Mike Conley.
What are the positives,
about Kyle Lowry, I mean, the positives are like veteran vocal leadership, kind of like a culture shifter. I think you run a little bit of risk where you kind of have to toe the line between like, do you want like that Pat Bev leadership, but don't be too Jimmy Butler about it, which is a little like hard line to toe. And Kyle Lowry's like really close with Jimmy Butler. They're buddies, probably bringing in a lot more of that energy. And I don't know if we need like that big of like a cultural reset to the whole thing. Like a guy who's probably not going to fit in as much. He does bring some more valuable like point of attack defense than D'Angelo Russell does. Although,
POA is what they call it.
Yeah, POA, as the analysts call it.
That's what KOC says. POA. He's a big POA.
But he's not going to be like OG Anunoby, Jaden McDaniels, like locking guys down. He just provides a little more competence than like a Jalen Noel or D'Angelo Russell does. So that's kind of that. Hasn't been very efficient from 2 or 3 this season. So, gentlemen, are you in or out?
I'm out on Kyle Lowry.
Durf,
I am also out on Kyle Lowry.
Jalenga.
Can I provide a little bit of context for my frame of
Yes.
mind?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think the thing about a D'Angelo Russell trade that is so important is like we the salary slot, and I think
Mm-hmm.
kicking the can down the road one more year to have that extra year,
Yep.
basically the same money. There's value in that.
Yep.
It also feels hard to be like, oh yeah, let's trade for a point guard who's 10 years older than D'Angelo Russell. You know, that feels like almost backward logic too. I think I'm a soft out on Kyle Lowry.
So
For those with that context.
I am also out on Kyle Lowry, but I do have a caveat to that. Kyle Lowry is one of the only guys on this list who offers the potential of getting significant draft compensation coming back to the Timberwolves. So if you're getting like an unprotected 2026 or 2027 Miami Heat pick, a Kyle Lowry trade seems a lot more appealing to me because like Jimmy Butler is getting older. They're Miami is kind of teetering on possibly like falling into some irrelevance. So if you're getting one of their picks down the road, there's some value to be had.
I mean, if you talk that way, I wouldn't mind if we could package D'Lo, Nas, and Prince for Lowry and like a rotation player from Miami plus a pick. That could be interesting and like give both Wolves some like additional assets to sort of rebuild the coffers.
Like Caleb Martin, Max Strus, some of those guys,
and also not make the Wolves worse because that's like the last thing we want is to be worse when our
and you have a
draft
good point too that kicking the can down the road, you do have that spot, that max slot open still, or that money available.
It's Strauss, Max Strauss is
and
how
then
you pronounce it.
Also
Ethan Max Strauss.
Lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Had to bring up
something
Ethan
about-
Strauss.
I know. Ethan Strauss always gets me.
Damn.
You leave that spot. Oh, and the contract also becomes an asset because it's an expiring contract that second year, right? Because he's got 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah.
So there are benefits. I see that. But yeah, I'm still.
But I think we also see we can talk ourselves into like the expiring $30 million contract of Kyle Lowry as an asset next season. But D'Angelo Russell has been 50, 40, 90 for like 2 months right now on an expiring $30 million contract. And he's like 26. And we're seeing that is not that positive of a trade asset right now. Yeah. So like, are we really expecting that like a 37-year-old Kyle Lowry is going to hold significantly more value next season?
Yeah.
Hang on. I've never seen someone actually regain their train of thought after being derailed that
was
quickly.
hard.
That was
knowing that we're recording too.
That was
every
good.
second counts.
Yeah, we definitely didn't pause for like 45 minutes there. Turn things back on.
Yeah.
Durf started.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm up with Fred VanVleet. Okay, he's 28 years old. He's on an expiring, right?
He's got a player option that he's probably going to decline.
Okay, so over the last 4 years, since he exploded into our periphery, he's averaging 19 points, 6.5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds per game, and 37% from beyond the arc. His whole thing, he's a floor general who can heat up quickly and take over a game if needed, if his shot is falling, which it hasn't always been this year, but, you know, we slump and we strive. That's the human condition. And generally, since the Raptors title, he's been a guy to work hard on defense and kind of be that floor general, more traditional PG. So are we in or out on Fred VanVleet? I am in, but I don't think that's going to happen if we had to do it. So I'm going to go next. I want to go diagonal. Let's do diagonal. Let's switch it up.
Yeah,
too many voices in the same order.
I'm out on Fred VanVleet because if we have to end up re-signing a point guard at like a high number anyway, why not just keep D'Lo? He's a little younger, short point guard, turning 30 soon. That could turn at any moment.
He has a better beard than D'Lo.
That's true.
It's
nice. Beard is nice. Yeah, no, I feel that. But I'm still out.
Okay.
Let's do Let's do like this a little bit.
I am also out on Fred VanVleet. He He is talking a real big game with how much money he wants
Okay.
next season.
It was like 4 years, 120 or 3
like
years,
4
120?
years, 130. That's a lot for Fred VanVleet's like maybe 6 feet tall. He's already
Heightest.
he's already
Yeah.
been like
It's the
pretty.
NBA, man.
that is a portion of it.
He's already been like. I think you're trading for Fred VanVleet on the pretense of this year that he's having is an outlier, but it's entirely possible that the decline has just started because, like Shalenga just said, he's almost 30. He's a small point guard. He's not shooting very well. He offers a little bit more competence at the point of attack than D'Angelo Russell, but I'm out on the idea of paying a big number to Fred VanVleet.
I gotta stop. Okay, as the D-Lo stand in the room, I gotta stop letting this room and your rain cloud affect what I say in the microphone because I'm on the group chat going D-Lo for life, baby. Me and my wife are high fiving whenever he does things. We go like this to our baby, and then I come in here and I get swayed by you, and I say I'll trade Fred VanVleet. Well, that's not in my heart. That's only my brain. But my heart says keep D-Lo. So you know what? Fuck it. No more Fred VanVleet.
Well,
So you're just out on all of this discussion.
I'm out on all this because D-Lo was the tell me about John Wall.
I also want to emphasize that.
We'll get there.
I also want to emphasize
Charlie
that
really
in
wants
my,
John Wall.
in my
It gets me.
version. I don't want to extend D'Angelo Russell. I'm comfortable taking the risk of him just walking in the offseason, trying to do a sign and trade. The salary slot thing, while it is a real thing, the Ant and Jaden extensions are going to take effect the year after. So it's really only a thing for 2024 versus like if you fill that salary slot in 2024 and then you extend Ant and Jaden, then you're probably having to trade someone making a lot of money unless you're willing to pay the luxury tax. And Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez haven't exactly screamed like liquid enough to be paying the luxury tax right off the bat.
Nope. But that's the end game anyway. Ultimately, one of even if D'Lo is gone, one of Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, or Jaden McDaniels, I think is going to have to be off of the team in the next 3 years because just those 4 alone is going to be insanely expensive.
Yep.
And it's going to be impossible to build a team around them.
That's where, like I said, that's where the salary slot thing, while like in theory, it's important for like next season, it becomes like a moot point the year after that.
Yeah.
I'm
Durf.
I forgot. Yeah, I was just waiting.
Are you in or out on Fred VanVleet?
I'm out. I lived through the Tibbs era. I'm familiar with bad contracts. That seems like it's going to age very poorly.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Next up, we got Bones Highland.
And you guys are going to be surprised by this one because Bones Highland meets none of the criteria for any of the players that I have described as the things that I want.
He likes Alexei Shved. He likes Max Strauss. He likes Duncan Robinson.
I do not like Duncan Robinson.
Do you?
No, I do not.
Yeah, I want to say that's not. Yeah.
You love Shane.
I've been saying that I want like better point of attack defense, a little more competence, a little more veteran leadership. Bones Highland offers none of that. Bones Highland is basically like higher upside, better 3-point shooting Jalen Noel at this point in his career. But I'm viewing a Bones Highland trade as more of a long-term piece than something to solve the team this year. Of all the guys we're going to talk about today, Bones Highland has far and away the most upside of any of them. And you could see a world where Bones Highland is a Jordan Poole level player.
I thought you were going to say Jordan, just like
a Jordan Alamat level player.
Just really good bench presence.
And I think he could, like I said, he offers a little bit more upside and the long-term piece. And then all of that aside, he's just a really cool dude named Bones. And I want a really cool dude named Bones on my favorite team. And I also think that it matters because in a Bones Highland trade, in all likelihood, the player that you're trading is Naz Reid. And the fan sentiment when you trade Naz Reid, no matter what you get in return, is there's going to be some negative backlash. People love Naz Reid, and I love Naz Reid. I've been on record as I think a Naz Reid trade offers us the ability to cheer for Naz Reid thriving somewhere else in a bigger role than he's ever going to have. on the Timberwolves, but I think it's important. I think it matters if you're trading Naz Reid to get someone back who fans are going to gravitate towards. And I think Bones Highland is the type of guy that fans are going to be really love because he does really cool stuff. He shoots and makes a lot of threes. He shoots really deep threes. And his name
Always
is
fun.
Bones Highland.
His name is Bones.
So when he drains a deep three, the bones are their money.
So are the worms.
And we get a guy named Worms Lowland.
We'll sign Dennis Rodman, the worm. And him and Bones Highland can play, and we'll have the money, the bones and the worms. So, all that to say, Bones Highland, I am in. Durf.
So we talked about this in the text thread. You kind of convinced me. It sucks. It would suck to lose Naz. Super sad. You make some good points, and I also think that we have an embarrassment of riches in the front court.
Here he goes.
Swapping front court depth for backcourt depth, and also my boy Luka gets thrust into a high minutes or a more high minutes role. Yeah, I think soft in.
Soft in. I'm gonna go next. Bones for Naz. Sure.
That doesn't sound very
I'm a
convincing.
soft.
You
Yeah,
sound out.
Soft.
My
You sound like you're out plus.
I don't like trading Naz because he just put down an emphatic dunk to seal a game versus the defending champions. But he's got there's no long-term space for him on this team. It seems like a really sticky wicket once Cat comes back. So you have to get some value. I think Bones would be the best case.
Yeah, I'm
in.
mad in on Bones. I'm very, very in on Bones.
Nice. Why?
Oh, I mean when we're talking about 3-point attempts, like the rate he's putting them up per 100, he's like 6th in the league. He's putting up
what?
Yeah, he's putting up like 10.7,
like Malik Beasley level.
Yeah, And the thing about him is that a lot of them are self-created too, which is
always
even
fun.
More impressive. I mean, so he's just like gonna come in and he's gonna shoot, which is what you actually need from your 6-man shooter. Jalen Noel comes in and he dribbles,
and shoots.
But he's fast.
Yeah,
You know?
and Bones is going to do a lot of dribbling too. But I mean, we've already got some evidence that he can really knock it down. And so
the shot creation is huge. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for the next two, was I supposed to do the next two? Because they were highlighted my color, but
the next one is highlighted Durf's color. Durf
what?
has just all the Clippers guys.
Yeah.
Thank God.
That
didn't do anything.
That was a kind of a catch-all. We have on here Manwall, Covington, Kennard. It's not going to be all those guys.
It could
It's
be.
just
We
all
need
those
deep,
guys.
detailed analysis on all of them.
Yeah.
Durf, can you tell me a lot about Terrence Mann? Because I don't know too much about Terrence Mann. I know the other three.
I don't know that much about Terrence Mann either.
Can
But
you tell us about Terrence Mann?
Yeah. Well, they want to move him to point guard allegedly.
I mean, he's a basketball player. He would
He's a basketball player?
Yeah, he's a basketball player. Hits a lot of home runs, touchdowns, goals, skating around.
I don't like this bit.
Okay, good.
It
sucks. Got it. No, Terrence Mann would go a long way towards solving the nobody plays hard enough problem. He's going to get to a lot of loose balls. He's probably the best point of attack defender on this list of guys.
POA.
Yeah, he's the best POA on the list of like potential trade acquisitions. He's on a really nice contract moving forward. So he's in the Nas salary slot right now, but he's already signed an extension that jumps up to like $10 million a year for the next 2 years. Good like catch and shoot, open 3-point shooter, not like a tremendous creator, but he would be like more of a role player, which is something we've talked about on this show before, is kind of the need for, with all the high level talent, guys that just kind of fill in roles on the team. All that to say, I'm in on Terrence Mann.
Yeah. I mean, the deal would probably be something around Kennard, Rocco, Terrence Mann. We've talked about this before. Rocco would fit really nicely on this team. There's some depth there.
You didn't.
I'll save it for when we go around.
Yeah. Stop interjecting. Durf, do you finish your bit? Sorry.
All right. Anyway, Kennard, great knockdown shooter. And then Terrence Mann, obviously, we just went over that. They like D'Lo.
That's a big one. They're one of the only teams that seems to want D'Angelo Russell.
Exactly. Like that's just kind of the basis of this discussion.
And then John Wall comes in as filler.
We don't want John Wall.
Why don't we want John Wall?
Because John Wall is
we only
terrible.
want John Wall for the jerseys.
Slang up. John Wall, your thoughts?
I'm kind of out on John Wall, man.
Why?
Look, I love John Wall. Love everything that he's done in the league. Peak John Wall was awesome. He was one of my favorite players to watch. but that player is long gone.
Yeah.
He is
A super
cooked.
super sad.
Shell of a man.
Super sad. Got injured and then hurt himself again in the shower. Like, first of all, the embarrassment, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if we could be like real, like that's
At least lie.
you gotta call your coach.
Like,
and be like,
Don't tell people.
hey doc, I just fell over in the shower and it did not feel good. You know, like what? That sucks, man.
That's
Yeah.
tough.
But no, I'm out on John Wall.
Durf, where do you stand on your Clippers assignment?
I mean, there's nice pieces there, but I'm just I'd prefer to keep D'Lo than make that deal. That's my.
Should I go? I obviously prefer to keep D'Lo, and I'm going to speak my truth to power. But if they're like, hey, here's Kennard and Terrence Mann, I go, well, hey now. I just think of, I think of like Kennard and Cat. When Cat does come back, it just bombs away. And that's very exciting to me. I also think, well, I don't want to say that on the podcast. Brandon, what do you think?
I am in on Terrence Mann. I'm in on Luke Kennard. I am hard out on John Wall. And I'm out but sad on Robert Covington. Robert Covington is one of my 5 favorite Timberwolves players of all time. I love Robert Covington. Similar to John Wall being cooked, I think Robert Covington is kind of cooked at this point. He's like got very active hands still, but he's not a tremendous point of attack defender. He's like pretty immobile at this point in his career, and he's not like a knockdown shooter.
But he's Cat's
at
friend.
this point.
I was just
he
gonna
is Cat's
say.
friend.
See, this is a good
I like Robert Covington a lot, but I do not see him. I don't think Robert Covington is in the rotation for the Wolves if he's on the team.
He doesn't need to be a positive impact.
Well, if we're trading D'Angelo Russell, I sure would like to get
That was-
someone who plays.
Are we
back.
sure? Are we sure though? I mean, because like, just to balance the rosters, you'd think like Jalen Noel or Naz Reid is also going over
Mhm.
Yeah.
in that deal,
Mhm.
and so like Robert Covington as backup center alongside Kyle Anderson. Does that do anything for you?
Well, it's just so hard for me because like Cat's coming back at some point. So then you've got in the center rotation, it's Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns. You can functionally get away in bit minutes with Luka Garza and or Nate Knight. And then like the role you'd want Robert Covington in is primarily the minutes that Kyle Anderson and Torian Prince
Yeah,
are
that's what I was
getting.
thinking.
He's like, what?
And those guys are
if-
way better than
Play all
Robert
three of them.
Covington.
I'm saying play all three, man. That sounds awesome. Like just running and gunning. Like we can go big, we can go big, we can go big. But if we have a real lineup that can go small and switch everything and just like shoot the lights out, what a fucking curveball to have, right?
Yeah.
Like a super big change of pace. I think like the versatility of play and the amount of looks that you can throw at other teams is super important. And right now, I'm not sure we have like a super great small ball look. Like Kyle Anderson at center actually looked pretty tight.
Yeah.
But if we had one more like big versatile forward, a la Robert Covington, maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, that's just it. My thing is I just don't think Robert Covington's that player anymore.
Yeah, I feel you.
Particular because like you just watch him, like he's always been like a little stiff and immobile, but he had the really good hands to go along with it. Now he's like even a step slower. He's only shooting 33% from behind the arc. So I just like I don't view him as the player for that role. I do like the idea of like big versatile switchy wings who can guard out on the point of attack. I just don't think Robert Covington is that player anymore.
I feel you.
Durf, bring us home with Nets talk.
This was highlighted in your color.
Oh, it was? Okay, so the Nets, they talked about trading Seth Curry.
Are you the host? I'm sorry.
I don't know what's going on. Was this my color?
Blue is
It's
your
the same
color.
as Van Vliet.
So the Nets, they're looking.
We don't need to talk about these ones.
Yeah, okay.
These ones are just on here because the Nets have been interested in Nas, so we just like threw some guys on
So
here that
Seth
maybe
Curry,
made
Patty
sense.
Mills. Same thing with like the Rocco 2-3 years ago. I'd be in on these guys if it was 2-3 years ago.
I'm out on all the Nets guys because you probably have to trade Prince to make the salary math work on any of them, and I don't want to trade Torian Prince if I'm getting Seth Curry or Patty Mills back.
What if it's 2018 Patty Mills when he was torching the Wolves
Sure.
on the Spurs?
In this scenario, yeah.
Okay,
Cool. Do you want to talk about the last guy, Brandon?
Ayo
Or not
Dosunmu.
really.
That's one who hasn't been rumored to the Wolves, but someone who's rumored to be available, who
Interesting.
I really like, who
Absolutely.
Durf really likes
I
because
love him.
Durf's a big
Yeah.
Big Ten guy. Another guy who would really solve the nobody plays hard enough problem, plays on the Bulls. He was a second round pick last year, Big
yeah.
Ten player of the year. at Illinois a couple years ago.
Wait, hang on. I just Googled him. This guy died in 1885.
Ayo Dosunmu did.
Oh, this is just...
No, he just typed in Dosunmu. He didn't even have a last name.
He
That's
was
just
the Oba
Dosunmu.
of Lagos from 1853 when he succeeded his father, Oba Akitoye, until his own death until 1885.
So
he
he's
was forced to
trade
run
for this
away
guy?
So if
under...
he's dead, you could probably get some picks back in the trade too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
He was forced to run away to Britain under the threat of force in August 1861.
Hey, I would put on his skin and go play. You know,
Yeah.
if they needed me to.
Actually,
Hey, if you're listening,
it smells.
if Tim Conley, if you're listening, I will put on any dead person's skin and play for the
I
Minnesota
feel like there's
Timberwolves.
like
I've
a
heard
time-
Tim Conley's interested in doing that with someone, so he's been having trouble finding the guy though.
Yeah, no one wants to do it because it's nasty. It is not a pleasant job.
Well-
Well, I'll take one for the team, man.
Upon his death, he was officially recognized by the British Navy for, with a 21-gun salute.
Wow.
Oh,
That's like an
that
MVP
changes
for the
everything.
military.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Wake me up when he gets the 22-gun salute. God.
All right, what are we talking about?
We were talking about Ayo Dosunmu.
If the Bulls trade Ayo Dosunmu, that is a huge mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
agree.
all in on Ayo Dosunmu
Yeah.
for Naz Reid.
Absolutely. No question. Are you kidding me?
Plays super hard, would get to a lot of loose balls, rebounds for his position really well. A lot of upside. I'm in on Ayo Dosunmu.
Are you in on JoMomma Salsa?
I am.
This episode's brought to you by JoMomma Salsa, River Falls, Wisconsin's very own. Not only are they a local salsa, they also use locally sourced ingredients from the Midwest. What do we not rock with on this podcast? Big salsa. What should Big Salsa do?
Go away.
Suck it.
Wear a dead person's skin.
I was gonna say stop lobbying our government to make unlivable wages
Oh, yeah.
popular. That's what Big Salsa
Is Big
does.
Salsa doing that?
It's all Big
You haven't
Salsa.
heard?
Oh my god.
You haven't been watching the reels. We've been sending.
You gotta watch Shalinga's reels.
Uh-huh.
He sends to CWNP.
I will share them to the group chat.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
okay.
Okay,
Sounds good, sounds
perfect.
good.
This is exciting.
So JoMomma's Salsa, like I said, JoMomma's Salsa, locally owned company, locally sourced ingredients. It's got a fresh, vivacious taste. They do not sacrifice flavor for heat. They do both, and it's glorious. I rock with the pineapple mango. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that I like pineapple mango. There's also the roasted garlic. There's also the variations of heat. And you can buy it online, always free shipping. No shipping minimums. Just cop it. JoMommaSalsa.com. JoMommas.com. Let's move into talking about The Last of Us. Are you guys in on The Last of Us?
The Last of Us is great.
It's
The
fantastic.
third episode was one of the best episodes of TV I've ever watched.
You've been watching?
Oh,
You're caught
yeah. Oh, God. That third episode.
Dude.
Can we just dive into that episode?
Sure.
The greatest love story since the
Okay,
first 10
Are you
minutes of Up.
concerned about any spoilers? at all?
No, I know what happens. I am not watching The Last of Us because I'm very affected by media. I know it's good, but I know it's very heavy.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
going to make me sad. And I feel things too much, especially as a new father. I'm very emotional all the time.
It's impressive self-awareness that you're able to
It's why
make
I
that
watch
decision.
Thank you. It's why I watch cartoons a lot
Yeah.
because there's a good, they can be well done. But I know it's
Absolutely.
good. Spoil away.
I mean, for me personally, I was really blown away by this love story that we got that was not a part of the game whatsoever. And the fact that we got to witness a gay relationship that was not hidden at really any point. Because so often with media, queer, like they will depict queerness, but it will be like sort of like on the low, or like you just have to sort of infer that
It's
they're
implied,
gay, you know?
yeah.
And it was beautiful to watch not only this gay couple, but this like older, you know, and not conventionally attractive, at least one side, gay couple, and grow old. And I mean, I was bawling.
Yeah.
Like I've never cried so much watching a TV show.
A zombie
like that
TV
you
show.
got
That's
to-
that.
And that you got to like live basically like their whole life
Yes.
with them in like
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like to see like and to be
I just got
convinced
goosebumps.
to be
Holy
convinced
shit.
in like 40
It's
minutes.
powerful.
It
Like
is.
to be that affected by characters that you just met 40 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without spoiling what actually happens at the
Right.
end. But like to be that affected when they're old and at the end.
Yeah.
It's just, it's wild to see just like finding love in just the most
In a hopeless place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
In the most
Yes.
ridiculous circumstances. It's so authentic and so like you said, it's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and I feel like I walked away from it having like learned something about love and like how to love people, which I don't learn stuff from TV that often, but I really
Certainly
took
not
some,
like the zombie apocalypse show.
Yeah, a video game based TV show. Like it's just
Absolutely.
not something you expect to come out.
If I'm trying to learn, I'm going to youtube.com/mudfloods and flat earth, and I try to make it happen. So for The Last of Us, if you're not familiar, well, you probably should be, but it's a zombie apocalypse show where mushrooms take over the world, and it's
So tight.
real scary and awesome, and kind of makes me sad because I know what happens because I read the Wikipedia page because I had to be involved.
Don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it. But in honor of The Last of Us and capitalizing on the clout the show can bring us, remember HBOmax.com, promo code no pants to get that free month. We're gonna do another draft, guys. We're not calling it a draft.
This isn't a draft.
I thought it was a draft.
No,
we're
we
just saying our
say our
teams.
team.
Oh, I thought we were going around.
No, we're just saying our
Remember,
whole
Beck
teams.
said we've done too many drafts, so we weren't doing it.
Yeah, but I thought we were gonna.
But you can just pick your top picks.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
that's great.
Yeah.
Schlenga, do you have 3 to 4 Wolves members that you want to survive with?
I sure do.
How do you say the C word in The Last of Us? The mushroom, not
Cordyceps.
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 I was like,
Oh,
I
you
don't
wanna
know
say
the
the C word,
language.
We gotta check is the C word allowed? I was asking about before we started. I'm bringing it off pod conversation.
Yeah.
Off pod. I was saying, okay, is the C word allowed? Is the F word allowed? Is the B word allowed? Is the W word allowed? I was saying them all. So
Yeah,
Um,
I love the W word.
I honestly am embarrassed that I have not been dropping the W word way more often.
Guys, we got to drop way
This
more
episode,
W's
Way
on
more
here.
W's.
Okay, so we're just gonna go around and say who we want to survive or who we would be with from Wolves history to survive a cordyceps.
Yeah, who's
Fungal
our
infection.
team? Our survival team.
Let's start with Chalango. Work
Yeah,
our way to
yeah,
Beck
yeah,
since
yeah,
he's
yeah.
got 4 overachiever.
My fourth one is just like a funny one that I didn't want to take up a spot on my team.
We should have just done a wild card. We should have done 3 in a wild card or an honorable mention. Anyway,
Yeah. So when I went through the process, I was like, okay, I need somebody outdoorsy. I need someone who's going to be able to maybe build some stuff, maybe help me understand edible plants. And I was like, okay, do we have any farmers, any former Wolves farmers? And I remember Corey Brewer famously grew up on a farm.
Okay.
He is a tractor guy. He's like super outdoorsy. So he's number 1. Corey Brewer is on my survival team. Check if he grew up on a farm, because this was just my memory. I'm like, I think he grew up on a farm.
Corey
So
Brewer Farm.
you said it so
How
confidently.
Corey
I
Brewer's
believe you.
hard work in the NBA began on the farm.
there we
Wow.
go.
There we
I knew it. Great pull. Thanks everyone. Yep.
Yeah, very well done. Very well done.
Please clap.
Live studio audience loved that one.
And then I'm gonna pick Gorgie Jang. I think Gorgie Jang is so selfless and would really like give himself for the betterment of our team and do what he needed to do to make sure that we could survive and succeed. And the last one was tough. I didn't quite know the personalities of folks enough, but I figured I needed someone who was gonna be able to do the tough stuff. Someone with a little bit of like edge to them, because there's
That
just
bootstraps mentality.
there's just shit that's gonna have to happen, and so I went with Andre Kirilenko.
Nice.
Oh,
that's
okay.
a good
Hard
team.
hand.
Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah, so we got Corey Brewer, Gorgie, and
AK-47.
AK-47. Okay.
I almost took AK because I feel like
Durf loves AK.
I do love AK.
Yep.
If you get a giant tattoo on your back of your World of Warcraft character, you're automatically one of my favorites.
I
It's a strong
didn't know
move.
that he had that.
Oh yeah,
That
have
is
you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
So it would always peek out the side, like right on his shoulders. You could see like the end,
like
of- but
the
it's
wings.
it's
a Warcraft character.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a pterodactyl type.
Fucking
It's
tight.
insane, dude.
It's great.
I saw it immediately and I was like, what is peeking out the sides of his jersey? Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
a fullback tattoo.
Durf, you're
All right.
going next?
Yeah. So the first one I took, for obvious reasons, I'm taking Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
Because he's loading up the pump, some Uzis, a
Damn
couple
it,
nines,
this is
a
literally-
couple joints with silencers,
This is literally on my
flippers,
team.
grenades, missile launchers, and a couple missiles. I mean, we're pretty much set for like ammo.
He's too intense to die.
Yeah, he's a main character. He's gonna like live throughout. Like it's gonna be a really endearing storyline, but he's also just gonna take out the zombies with his ammo. Number 2, I had Kyle Anderson. Similar to your pick, he makes the right play. He makes the right move. It's not always the sexy move, but it needs to be done. If he needs to, he's gonna sacrifice himself for the greater good.
Oh, no.
If he needs to.
Yeah.
We don't know the storyline. He might not need to, but he's willing to. That's what we need.
That's true.
He's selfless.
That's right.
And then the last one is Peck, Nikola Pekovic.
This fucking team is just my team.
Is it really?
Almost.
Okay. So Peck, if there's one person I think could protect me and rip apart zombies, I think it's Nikola Pekovic. And also the one negative is he's probably pretty slow. So if we're on foot, like might slow us down a little bit, but a lot of meat on those bones, so he might be a good distraction if I need to like get out of it. So I'm just saying,
You're just like, who can die? So I don't have to.
Like it's a zombie apocalypse. Eventually, they're probably gonna teeter out. So like, I want to be the last one.
Yeah. Okay.
Brandon, you want to go or do you want me to go?
Well, I don't want anyone to take any more of my picks because Durf's team.
Yeah,
I had to rework my team a little bit here because I didn't want to just have Durf's team. So my first pick was Torian Prince. I think for the leadership, kind of the take charge mentality, but I also really wanted to prioritize on my team just like a general sense of toughness. People that aren't going to like get beaten down by the trials of the zombie apocalypse. And I think Torian Prince is tough and gritty. He doesn't back down, and I think he can kind of take the reins as a leader. I had Kevin Garnett because he was loading the clips, Uzis, and missile launchers, but I am going to take Kevin Garnett off my team in the interest of not having almost the exact same team as Durf. And I'm going to take James Johnson for very similar reasons.
Yeah.
He's kind of my enforcer, big tough guy, probably another guy who's going to load up the clips, Uzis, and missile launchers in the tough times, and just really like stand up for the team. And I also have Nikola Pekovic on my team, but for different reasons, because so you're going Corey Brewer from like the farming angle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Nikola Pekovic from we're like years into the zombie apocalypse here in The Last of Us. So we need people that have ties to like the criminal underworld and the smuggling lines, and we need access to this stuff. And so Nikola Pekovic, he's going to be in with that zombie apocalypse mafia, and he's going to have access to those guns, Uzis, and missile launchers. He's going to have access to trading that food and stuff under the table that a lot of people aren't going to be able to get to. So I that's kind of our way of sustaining things.
Hell yes.
And then I do have a bonus fourth person.
Give it to me.
I also put Bryn Forbes on my team because I want someone who, if we do have to sacrifice someone, I am not sad at all when we do it.
That's why That's why Tibbs is on my team. Someone that we can just kill.
The Peck backstory episode is going to be
It's
so
gonna be
good.
so
Yeah,
great.
just the full
Yes.
throwback.
Okay, well, you're going to see a trend with my team. Latrell Sprewell can attack, choke, perhaps?
Yes.
Ooh, that's dangerous. You're getting too close to the mouth. You're putting Malik Beasley on your
I'm
team.
Malik Beasley again.
This is just his great hang strap.
It's just the people I want to hang out with, but also people.
Is it because he's a good shooter?
It's also because he's a good shooter.
And confirmed has a lot of guns.
Yeah.
That's true.
I need a nice
Real
Second
true,
Amendment
stay
loving
away.
American on my side. And then I would sacrifice Tibbs, but since you took that joke, I'm going to find a different person. Again, if we're shooting, Karl Anthony Towns, sniper. We're not going to get close to these guys at all.
Yeah.
And if we do, we have Latrell Sprewell to choke him out.
Are you nervous that Cat might be a little too clumsy, though? I have visions of Karl Anthony Towns tripping on his big feet, and now you have to make the
He
decision.
shoots me as he's going down.
You have to make the decision, like, am I going to go save Karl Anthony Towns, or am I going to be running away while he's like, no, save yourself?
But Cat has that cringe force field. Well, they won't even come near
But
him.
he's going to say
That's
all
only
the
in
right
the game,
things.
not the show.
When
damn
he
it.
falls down, he's going to say all the right things, and he's going to be like, save yourself, because he thinks that's the noble thing to do. So you're going to be forced into a tough decision.
That doesn't
there.
alarm me, but I'm worried about the gun safety and him tripping and then shooting me. So I'm going to switch it to Jimmy Butler as an avid outdoorsman. He might be mean, but he is a survivalist, I think. Well, he fell over in a boat.
He can't swim. Don't you remember the Bam
he cannot
Adebayo,
swim.
Tyler
Yep.
Hero,
Oh, that's
Jimmy
right.
Butler?
You're
Like
one
none
of
of
us.
them can.
Yeah.
None of them can swim.
That's
Okay.
I had Jimmy Butler as a possible choice, but I was a little concerned about team morale.
I think if you're on his good side, everything's fine.
Yeah, but I
zombie
think
apocalypse.
I think the problem is if
The
you're
morale's
not
high.
if someone on the team isn't on his good side, he's not afraid to sell you out to save himself.
Well, then what about do I want Glenn Taylor on my team? Because if he can identify loyalty, loyalty, or maybe an infection amongst a bunch of our livestock, he knows how to get rid of it.
I could.
He's like, hey, I got this big oven.
we got the flamethrower.
If we can lure these million zombies into this massive oven, I can kill them all at once.
But then he's got to worry about the protesting zombies too, and that's a whole different crowd. Like
Glenn Taylor roast cordyceps alive. That's a good bid, Durf. That was a good bid.
Oh,
and my team blows. I don't care. It's one of those permutations.
It's one of those.
Yeah. Shalenga, I didn't tell you about this bit. It's time for
Random Wolf of the Week.
Wow. It is my week, so I'm going to provide you guys a bunch of clues, and you have to guess who my random wolf of the week is.
You can be anyone that played at least one game for the Wolves.
Ever.
Okay. There's 285 of them. I ranked them earlier this year.
You did a great job. But before we start the game, you guys can just do any guess, and I think as any guess, just
as
to
the
start
guest, you get to do the guess.
It's the guest guess.
It's the guest guess. All right. I'm gonna guess Dean Garrett.
It was not Dean Garrett,
Okay.
but that is a great random wolf of the week future person.
Dean Garrett, part of a long history of bad centers who started most of the games for the Wolves.
That's
right. From the 90 until Cat showed up, we had just had a different bad center every season.
And it's crazy because we had one of the greatest centers ever on the roster for most of that.
But we had to but he was a power forward back then.
And he was
Insane.
6'13".
Insane.
Right? All right. Clue number 1. He is a Christian. He said, quote, "I'm not an extremist, but I believe in Jesus Christ." And he has a tattoo to reflect that in the form of the acronym FGB, standing for Family, God, and Basketball, on his wrist.
FGB. Okay, that's not what came. Family God Basketball. That's
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Well, so there's a lot of guys. Doesn't Ricky Rubio have a tattoo on his wrist?
Does he stream
I don't
Christian?
think it's Ricky.
Oh, he's from Spain, maybe.
I'm gonna guess Christian Leitner.
That would have been so sick if I pulled that off, but no.
All
right. Okay.
I tried.
All right. It's also a group guess.
It's a group guess. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
You're okay.
We usually don't get it until the third or fourth one.
Yeah,
anyway.
they get less and less obscure.
All right, I'm here.
All right, clue number. These are horrible clues, guys. Clue number 2. His first and middle names are homages to other NBA players. I cannot tell you who those players' names are, obviously, but they are from other NBA players from the 90s.
First and middle.
And middle.
Oh, so that his name or do we know he's named after those people?
Yes.
Okay, so he's named after people from the 90s, so he has to be relatively recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brandon the deducer, Sherlock Holmes over here. Yeah.
That's me.
That was so
What do we think?
convincing.
Jally gives the worst hints.
Yeah.
No, a couple weeks ago they were good. You'll see why.
I think he picks like wolves that we would know, so he has to.
Well, that's
pick
not
clues
true
that
because
are-
he picked Felipe Lopez last time.
I would never have guessed that. What was that Christian quote again? What did he?
Quote, "I'm not an extremist, but I believe in Jesus Christ."
Okay, that's
So as it should be.
that's a weird ass.
Is there any
quote.
Lukes that he would be named out? Is a Luke Ridenour? I don't know what Luke like that. If it's going to be
Luke
obvious, it's
Hakeem
probably not.
Ridenour, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Carl Anthony Towns? His dad is Carl.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
but-
Carl Senior, Carl
Yeah.
Anthony Senior.
But also
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone, yeah.
Could
A
be.
person you want to be named
Hey,
after.
I think that's a fair guess.
Is it Carl Anthony Towns?
It is not Karl
Ah,
Anthony Towns. Clue number 3. He was drafted 10th overall by the New Orleans Hornets.
That's it? We don't get a year?
It was the last year they were the New Orleans Hornets.
What year?
I know Noah Vonleh was drafted around 10th overall by the Hornets, wasn't he? He's
Was
somewhere.
he the Hornets?
I thought he was drafted by the
sounds
Hornets.
right. Noah.
But that
Noah's tough.
Noah is tough. Drafted 10th by the Hornets. I'm
The
like
last year they were the Hornets, that would have been
2009, 10 or something.
yeah, because that's Eric Gordon played for the Hornets.
Yeah. So maybe Noah
Wait,
Vonleh was drafted by Charlotte.
Is it our friend Austin Rivers?
It's our friend
Oh!
Austin Rivers. Let's go. That was clue number 4. He is our friend.
What's his middle name?
That is so good.
His middle name, hang on, let me look it up. I typed in fun facts about Austin
Austin?
Rivers.
Who's Austin?
I'm sorry. What?
Austin James Rivers. Let me go back to the website. It was
James Wiseman, obviously.
Austin
Uh-huh.
Rivers fun facts is what I typed in, and it was the first thing.
Oh hell yeah!
I was
That's
really
great
expecting
guess.
it to be a more Yeah.
As soon as I like the Hornets thing, all of a sudden I was like trying to think of guys who had played for them.
Also, that might have been a lie. I think it might have been. I think. Well, no, he was drafted by the Hornets in 2012, and that's when like they announced they're going to switch to the Pelicans.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm looking up the.
What was he? How quickly was he traded? Did he play a game for the?
Yeah, he played.
Okay.
He played for a couple of years for the.
Okay.
Yeah, he played for the Hornets for 1 year. Then a full year for the Pelicans. Then half season for a Pelican. The Pelicans got traded to his dad's team with the Clippers.
Got it.
And then he bounced around a lot after the Clippers.
Okay, so the NBA players. Doc Rivers named his son after Austin Carr, one of the great scorers in NCAA history at Notre Dame.
Of course.
And then Austin's middle name, James, is in honor of his uncle, Jim Brewer. Wow.
Oh yeah, we all love
Jim.
He used to dribble and shoot that ball, man.
Jim Brewer. You said they were from the 90s. Jim Brewer played from 74 to 82.
Run the tape back while you guys are talking over me in excitement. I say late 80s.
It's not even late 80s. His
I
last year
like
was
it.
1982.
Yeah. Anything after 81's late.
Yeah.
I would have definitely known it was Jim Brewer if you hadn't said 90s.
I was gonna. And then wasn't Randy Brewer the random wolf last year?
Is that
He
the
was.
tie-in? You looked up his uncle and you're like, that's it.
the guy.
That's how we're choosing.
So we've reached the natural end of the episode. Shalenga, do you have anything you want? Do you have any airing of grievances or wolves bits or something, or a hot take perhaps that we can store away and put out later?
I mean, my hottest take is that as we approach the deadline, I think people should be prepared that if the Wolves do make a trade, the most likely player that is to be traded is actually Taurean Prince, because he is the player in my eyes, in my estimation. And I talked about this on a very recent episode of the CND NBA show. Make sure you listen to that.
Good
But
plug.
As teams like go down the list of like 3-and-D type wings that they want to get, because that's kind of what everyone wants to acquire. They're going to go OG Anunoby, too expensive. Jay Crowder, there's some weird contract stuff. He hasn't played all year. He seems like he wants to go to the Bucks. He's meeting with them, whatever weird stuff. Tobias Harris is too expensive. You go down the list and there's just not a ton available. Taurean Prince makes like what, $7 million?
$8 million.
$8 million. Yeah. It's just like a nice gettable contract. Right. Teams who feel like they're close but need one more rotation piece might feel like they can overpay a little bit to have him for a couple of years. Could slot into a couple like starting lineups in the league. I think about Cleveland specifically. Ooh. Like how
which is funny because that's where we got it from.
That's where we got him from. But he can go back because he's on a new contract now. Yeah. So there's no issue there. So I don't know. I just think when we talk about which Wolves players have value throughout the league, like of course our 3-and-D wing, who honestly doesn't really play that much for us. Like in his time here, he's not played that many minutes. He feels maybe more valuable than he is to the team. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah, I've always kind of viewed the potential of a Taurean Prince trade as more of like the way to make salary math work if you're trying to get a player back for Naz Reid or Jalen Noel. I hadn't really considered the idea that we would be getting the worst players back and maybe like draft compensation or swapping fit for fit with like a team like Cleveland. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. What a great take, Shalenga.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our first ever guest on Crunch Wears No Pants. Please plug all of your things again so people can follow you.
Yeah, listen to the CND NBA show, available on all of the streaming apps. That's CN, the letter N, D, NBA show. Follow us on Twitter at CND NBA show. Follow me at Shalengason, at CHELANGASON. I write for Zone Coverage. It's kind of sporadic at this point, but usually once weekly. Sometimes very seriously, sometimes it's just a big goof.
Tommy Mayonnaise.
Tommy Mayonnaise, that's right. If you want, if you like this show, I assume that you will also like the CND NBA show. We're very weird, we're wacky. We can be a bit radical sometimes, but mostly we're just here for the bits. So, felt good to slide right in, dude, to this show.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Of course.
This was a hoot and a half. Hey, if you're listening on the road, drive safe. If you're listening inside, don't go outside. It's cold. Love you so much.
And if nobody's told you yet, we love you.
We love you.
Bye.